The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 1st, 2010, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for the next 60 minutes of news, talk, interviews, information, music, comedy, and more by, for, and about the cannabis community. Coming to you live from Rolla J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon. It's not a typo, it's a way of life. And pushing the buttons and turning the knobs in the studio here is our maestro, Ganja John.
Hey, Tokers. I got pulled over this morning, Russ.
You got pulled over?
I did. Portland Police Bureau. You know, every time I watch the news here in Portland, I hear about the earlier in the day when a cop shot somebody, so I got pretty scared.
Don't shoot Ganja John.
Don't shoot Ganja John.
We need him here.
Yeah.
How was your Memorial Day weekend?
Excellent. I didn't do anything, and it was wonderful.
Oh, those are my favorite kind of weekends. And let's bring Cannabis Carrie on. She's up in beautiful Astoria, Oregon. She's our newsreader, my good friend and half sister. Carrie, how was your Memorial Day?
It was nice. I'm continuing my month-long of family visits, so I got to be a tourist. And we had a good time.
Oh, excellent. Now, Carrie brings us our hemp headlines right after our first break, as she does every day. So what's in the headline news today?
Well, today we're going to acknowledge an icon that passed away this weekend. We're also going to give you an update, and thankfully it's a good update, on a custody dispute that we've talked about in the past. And we're going to go to Michigan, where a patient was kicked out of her family practice. We're going to talk about that as well.
Okay, Michigan, of course, one of the latest medical marijuana states in 2008, and yet a lot of the people there still don't accept the legitimacy of medical marijuana. It's a shame. We'll get to that story right after our first break. Also coming up on today's show, it is our Electric Tuesday in our Daily Toker Tunes. So at 20 after the hour, we go out to the East Coast to talk to Sarah Kant. She's going to bring us some great dance music for today's Daily Toker Tunes. At 30 past the hour, we'd normally have the California Marijuana Report, but Eric Brenner's on vacation. So joining us in the studio is a member of the NORML Board of Directors and the Executive Director of Oregon NORML, Madeline Martinez. She'll be here in studio to tell us about the future of Oregon NORML's Cannabis Cafe. And at 45 past the hour, we've got a note from Mark Emery's prison blog to go along with a little radical ranting about California legalization. All of that and more is coming up on NORML Show Live, so please stick around. You can catch the replays of NORML Show Live every 2 hours following the show at 3, 5, 7, and 9 Pacific Time, or 6, 8, 10, and midnight Eastern Time, or just download us. You can download us from stash.norml.org or from iTunes. Just look for the NORML Daily Audio Stash.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Hello, I'm Radical Russ Belville, Outreach Coordinator for NORML and host of NORML Show Live. Medical marijuana is legal in 14 states today, and I encourage you to visit marijuanadoctors.com to find a physician to help you obtain an authorization for medical marijuana in your state. In most medical marijuana states, patients qualify with a history of either severe chronic pain and or nausea, cancer, AIDS or HIV, glaucoma, seizure disorders like epilepsy, chronic muscle spasms such as multiple sclerosis, and other conditions which vary by state. Learn which conditions are covered in your state at marijuanadoctors.com. If you or someone you know has one of these conditions, MarijuanaDoctors.com will help you find a physician online or by phone to obtain a permit for medical marijuana. MarijuanaDoctors.com is fully transparent and HIPAA compliant. Call 866-996-9333 today or visit MarijuanaDoctors.com. That's 866-996-9333 by phone or online at MarijuanaDoctors.com.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's Normal News with Cannabis Carrie.
I would like to acknowledge here on the stash, Dennis Hopper passed away over the weekend. He had just turned 74 years old. Many of the younger stashers might not know what an icon Hopper was to the cannabis community culture. Dennis was an actor, filmmaker, artist, and an acclaimed photographer. He was in both of James Dean's big films, Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, and he was in a few drugsploitation films of the 60s, The Trip, and also the Monkees' experimental film called Head. But he will be remembered most for directing and starring in one of the most iconic movies of the 1960s, Easy Rider, a film that introduced many people to a lifestyle that included the concept of the open road, freedom, using recreational substances like marijuana, and it was groundbreaking in its use of pop music, filming styles, and bringing the counterculture lifestyle into the mainstream. Easy Rider is a story of two bikers traveling from Los Angeles to New Orleans in time for Mardi Gras. It almost defines the counterculture of that era, with a scene in a hippie commune, a traveling theater group, an acid trip on LSD, and Hopper and his co-star, Peter Fonda, experiencing some free love. They also get arrested in a small-town fort, parading without a permit, and are befriended by an ACLU lawyer played by a relatively unknown at the time Jack Nicholson, who they later introduced to marijuana, in a scene that inspired a generation. The movie sparked a new phase of filmmaking during the late 60s and went on to win an award at the Cannes Film Festival and was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Hopper appeared in over 150 movies in his long career and about 150 television programs. Dennis Hopper was also a medical marijuana patient as he battled cancer. He will be greatly missed, but the gifts of his paintings, films, and photography will last for generations.
Yeah, the Dennis Hopper death took place, of course, a little bit shortly after we disclosed the Gary Coleman death that took place over this Memorial Day weekend. And, of course, a big shame that we lose Dennis Hopper, who is battling prostate cancer. His films will be remembered forever. I'll, of course, always remember him for two films. Apocalypse Now, of course. My goodness, his turn in Apocalypse Now, where he played the drug-addled crazy guy, you know. Big stretch, and it was an amazing performance. I'll also remember his performance in Hoosiers. This was kind of his comeback performance when he was in that Gene Hackman movie Hoosiers, playing the recovering alcoholic assistant coach. I believe he was nominated for an Oscar in that role, and I don't recall if he won it. Did he win the Oscar? Didn't win it in that one. And then, of course, his turn in Speed in the 90s when he was the bad guy, the quintessential bad guy. Pop quiz, hot shot. We'll always remember Dennis Hopper. Thanks so much for all the great memories.
A custody dispute between a Canadian mother who is a cannabis activist and the state of Oregon is coming to an end. Lisa Kirkman's son Noah has been ordered back to Canada after years of bureaucratic red tape. Noah Kirkman should have come home within a few days after a vacation with his stepdad in Oregon, but those days turned into months.
I'm sorry, Carrie? Did we lose you there on the connection?
As Kirk.
Okay, it sounds like
hello.
Yeah, Carrie, it sounds like we're
hello.
Hello, Carrie. Sounds like you're cutting out on our connection there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't really changed anything.
Go
you
ahead.
Want me to continue, or do you want to take a break?
No, go ahead with the story. I think we've got you now.
Okay, well, I was just getting people up to speed on the case of Noah Kirkman and Lisa Kirkman. It looks like Lisa Kirkman will be getting her son back after Noah was stopped in Oregon for riding without a helmet in the summer of 2008 while visiting his stepfather near Eugene. When Oregon child welfare workers were called because the child, who was special needs and suffers from behavioral issues, could not say why he was in the country or where he lived in Canada. When Oregon child welfare caseworkers checked with their counterparts in Canada, they found an extensive record of contact with the family a record Kirkman contends was an effort to get her son help due to his special needs. That began what would turn into multiple foster homes and 3 different schools for Noah. Court papers showed that Oregon caseworkers have been working with Canadian authorities and indicated that the child originally might be better off in a group home in the States. Lisa Kirkman does have an arrest and conviction for growing marijuana in Canada, and she is a cannabis activist. An Oregon judge who ordered Lisa to go through testing and complete steps before the boy could release back to Canada says now it is time for Noah to be sent home. Noah will be sent to his home in the next few weeks, and according to the Oregon Department of Human Services on Friday, they said that the boy should be back in his homeland with his relatives. It is in his best interest. Connections to culture, country, and extended family are important and cannot be ignored. We'll check this out in a few weeks when Noah actually gets to go home.
All right. Well, that's good news that we're going to reunite the child and his mother. I'm, very reluctant to ever take a child away from a mother, and especially if we're supposedly taking that away because of their cannabis use. There's a court decision, and I haven't quite gotten the chance to post this up on stash.normal.org, but it came through in my email this weekend, and I just picked it up this Monday. This email had to do with one of the courts deciding that a person's medical marijuana use was not justification for bringing about child endangerment charges. So this could be a big change that protects people in all of the medical marijuana states. A lot of times when we have custody disputes, custody cases and divorces and so on, a bitter ex will bring up the other's medical marijuana use and try to bring that to the court and say, see, they're a drug user. It's a dangerous place for my kid. Nevertheless, so many people get to keep their kids while they're using OxyContin or drinking alcohol. Never mind that, but this court decision that allows medical marijuana patients to not be considered endangering their child, that's a big story. We'll bring that to you tomorrow once I get more information on it, and good news on the Lisa Kirkman story.
A family practice medical center in Battle Creek, Michigan is cracking down on patients who abuse their prescription. Former patient Paula Case learned the hard way that includes any marijuana usage. The Waddles Park Family Practice recently began enforcing a long-standing policy that allows for random urine screenings of patients with prescription for controlled substances. The 53-year-old woman got a letter in the mail a few days after she voluntarily took a urine test at the family practice that she has been going to for 23 years. The letter said that she had tested positive for marijuana and had been dropped as a patient. She was surprised that there was no second chances or the practice didn't offer any help with her supposed drug problem or just a chance for her to tell them that it was a one-time thing. Kay said she smoked marijuana with some old friends at a poker party the week before the test, but hadn't used marijuana for 15 years prior to that. She said her same doctor of 23 years had known about her marijuana use 20 years before, and she was always upfront about her habits. Office manager Kendra Lucas said the practice has taken a hard line due to the increase in prescription drug abuse. The DEA alerted them of a suspected drug dealer who had been traveling from Illinois to get prescriptions from them and several other area doctors. They decided to start random drug screening to protect themselves, but also as a tool to monitor their patients' prescription drug usage. She says the practice can be held liable if patients don't follow their prescriptions accordingly. Urine screens protect the elderly by making sure they are taking their medicines properly and could uncover cases in which caregivers are stealing medications. She says patients who do not want to submit to the test don't have to, but they won't get any prescriptions for pain medications if they don't. Only patients who have recommendations to use marijuana are allowed to have it in their system. The Battle Creek Inquirer quoted Lucas as saying, "The biggest problem we've had with this is that the ones that do come back positive for marijuana also come back negative for pain medication, which means to me they are smoking the marijuana and selling the medications." The patient who was dropped said she understands their concern, but believes it is wrong to drop a patient who might need help in dealing with a drug addiction, saying they are harming their patients without giving them any chance of help. Lucas said staff struggled with the decision to drop patients who test positive for illegal drugs. The Waddles Park Family Practice could have decided to send them to substance abuse detoxification clinics or counseling services, but she said it just wasn't something the practice wanted to deal with.
Boy, these cases, every time we have something like this, is just so insane that I struggle to find a suitably sarcastic remark to make about it. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, so you're concerned that the patient was turning up positive for inactive marijuana metabolites, a medicine that never killed anyone, and they're not turning up positive for the opioids that you prescribed for them that cause liver failure and all sorts of other toxic side effects. That's a problem somehow. Look, I know that we want to control these high-level prescription medicines, these opioid pain prescriptions. We definitely want to, because they are toxic and harmful. They are addictive to people. They do cause a lot of problems. But to deny someone medical care, to kick them out of your clinic for turning up positive for marijuana, seems counterproductive at best and just prejudicial at worst. This is the worst kind of demonization of cannabis users. So many people in this society every day turn on the television set and are bombarded with messages to take a pill for something. Got restless leg syndrome? We got a pill for it. Got a headache? We got a pill for it. Got an upset stomach? We got a pill for it. Can't digest the crap that you're eating every day? We got a pill for that too. Can't get to sleep? Well, we got a pill for that. So it seems to me in this society that we have been conditioned that whenever we have some sort of symptom, there is some sort of relief out there, some sort of physical relief we can get from some sort of pill with a prescription and a barcode and a heavy-duty markup and a profit for big pharma. But if we turn to nature and smoke a joint, and again, even if it's non-medical, and I'm going to put quotes around medical here because I get sick and tired of the idea that there's a certain range of conditions for which it's okay to not throw you in prison, but then there's a certain range of conditions where it's perfectly okay. Like, if I got a headache and I smoke a joint, well, it's okay to lock me up. But if you have migraines and smoke a joint, well, then it's not okay in 14 states if you qualify and get your card. So this is also compounded by that in this Michigan practice where they do allow the medical marijuana patients to have medicine in their system, but not the non-medical marijuana patients. So once again, it's like Alan St. Pierre calls it, psychopharmacological McCarthyism. It's this notion that you're too healthy for marijuana and we're going to punish you. And you've got to decide you either smoke pot on the weekends or you get medical care at our clinic. I'm tired of being held hostage to these people's prejudices, to their notions that they have some right to tell me what I'm doing in my free time, so long that it does not hurt others. This is a disgusting situation, and I'm going to turn to John here, see if he's got some opinions on this as well.
You read my mind, Russ. Carrie mentioned at the end of that story that the practice didn't want to send them to counseling or send them to drug rehab, though either of those things are pretty dumb in this situation.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is they said they didn't want to deal with it. I had a doctor who didn't want to deal with it for 17 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I'd probably still be on my original kidneys and not have to be on dialysis if my doctor didn't want to if he wanted to deal with it. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to drop a patient for that reason.
Yeah, and I wouldn't drop it. If they were talking about, drug testing their patients who were using oxycodone and they turned up positive for cocaine, right? They turned up positive for crack. I still wouldn't say to drop them from the clinic. If they turned up positive for crack, you can be sure these doctors would be saying, "Oh my God, we got to get you in a rehab program. We got to get you, some detoxification. We got to get you some help for this addiction." The fact that they're not saying that for cannabis is telling, right? That's the point of the story that's really interesting. They didn't offer any sort of rehab, didn't offer any sort of second chances, didn't offer any explanations, any education about cannabis, nothing. They just say, "You test positive for cannabis, we're not going to serve you anymore." So apparently they're not so concerned about it to think that it's an addiction, that they need to go about helping people that have turned up positive for cannabis. That even more clearly to me indicates that this is just rank prejudice, just a way of punishing people for not using the approved medications. And if you want to get all conspiracy theory on this just a little bit, think about some of these places that treat people that have all of these conditions, and it's in their best interest to make sure that they continue to purchase pills and they continue to come in for visits. So is it really in their best interest to see people using safe, natural, effective herbal cannabis that they can grow for themselves in their own closet? Probably not in their best interest if you're trying to, if you got all those pill pushers coming by the doctor's office offering you the free samples, taking you out to lunch and all of that. It's not in your best interest to be supporting their main competitors. So again, this Michigan thing, this family practice, got some big problems with that, but we'll take care of that a little bit later.
For shame, family practice.
For shame, family practice. All right, it's 20 after the hour, and it's time for us to take a break. You know what kind of breaks we take here at Normal. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. Your Toker Tunes are next, and then Madeline Martinez at the bottom of the hour.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Normal Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would say to South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Law420.com.
Hello, I'm Russ Belville, Outreach Coordinator for NORML. In my job, I read literally hundreds of headlines each month involving nonviolent, productive citizens whose lives are ripped apart by a marijuana or drug arrest. Many citizens could avoid arrest by refusing police searches and remaining silent, but police are well trained to confuse and intimidate. That's why you have a right to speak to an attorney before answering any police questions. I hope you never need to exercise that right, but if you do, make your first call to the law offices of John C. Lucy IV. John Lucy is an accomplished criminal defense attorney with expertise in Oregon's medical marijuana law. John Lucy understands and respects cannabis and drug consumers of all backgrounds. Call John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit in downtown Portland. Address available at law420.com. That's John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit law420.com today.
High as a kite, everybody!
This drug in front of me is what they call marijuana.
If we had a dime for every dime bag bought in America, marijuana would be legal by now. Donate to NORML at NORML.org and support Normal Show Live.
I'm going to light.
Roll a big fatty.
It's time for your Daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420-friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Our pod-safe music is donated by freedom-loving musicians who support our goal of ending adult marijuana prohibition. Today we bring you tunes for Electric Tuesday, our segment featuring the best of modern electronic music in the genres of dance, new age, house, and electronica. Brought to you by Sarah Kant in Boston, Massachusetts, and Sarah Kant Photography. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Normal Show Live, send it to us at stash@normal.org or mail your CD to Normal Outreach, 4110 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, number 161, Portland, Oregon, 97214. Now, here's some great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes. All right, everybody, welcome back. 23 after the hour, and we're trying to get Sarah on the line. She is on right at the moment, so we'll go out to the East Coast and speak with Sarah Kant. Sarah, how you doing?
Hi, Russ. I am here.
Oh, glad to hear you. We've been having some connection problems with Carrie, so the link between us and Astoria has been troublesome, but apparently the link from Astoria to Boston is still good. So glad to have you here. How was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was pretty good. Got a bunch of stuff done, chores around the house. Not very exciting, but it was pretty good. Weather here was great. Now it's pouring like we're somewhere tropical.
Well, you got the weather just at the right time, it sounds like to me. You've got a new song up here for Electric Tuesday, always bringing us the best in electronica to kind of get our groove going here. So tell us what's happening for today's song.
Well, this one's very interesting. Pest's earliest musical memory is being electrocuted while disassembling a record player plugged into the wall socket at age 2 in his hometown of San Juan Bautista, California. Born Kurt Kurosaki on August 10, 1969, of Japanese descent, and raised as a Japanese Pure Land Buddhist, or Jodo Shinsu, he got his bachelor's degree at Columbia University in philosophy, which is where he developed his love of opera and started tinkering with making his own compositions. In the early 1990s, Kurt tried opening a studio. It didn't work out, but he learned about using computers and audio software to make music instead of just concentrating on the mechanics of hardware. As a result, he began using Propellerhead Software's Rebirth and wrote his first hack, Tinderbox. Kurt is now involved officially with Propellerhead Software, both with sound design as well as music technology writing and video. He occasionally produces others' electronic and rock music along with generating his own work. Pest considers himself a, quote, gear slut, unquote. That is, he still is into hardware as he was when he was 2. The artist says it best, quote, this piece is based on the genetic sequence of cannabis sativa. The interpretation algorithm synthesizes audio signals based solely on the sequence data, as well as molecular mass of the organic compounds within a strand of DNA. The gene sequence is interpreted and broken down to amino acid classifications. The fundamental frequency is based on the amino acid, and the harmonic overtones modulations are created based on the codon sequence. Several oscillators are used for polyphony and to generate more overtones and subharmonics of the fundamental frequency. The rotational panning vectors are also based on the helical geometry of a DNA strand. Pest backs this up with scientific references of academic papers and books with direct fact-checking from professors at the UCLA Department of Molecular Biology. Obviously very much experimental electronica, this track is an audio walkthrough of marijuana's genetics and is just quite awesome in the literal and figurative definitions of the word. Discover more of Pest's world on his website at pest.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All links available at the post on the NORML Stash blog.
All right. Yeah, you'll be able to get this song, download it from stash.normal.org just about after 3 p.m. Pacific time when I get a chance to load it up. This is Pef with Cannabis Sativa. Thanks. I'm setting a ham radio here. This is Pef with Cannabis Sativa, some interesting mood music. We'll have the whole download up at stash.normal.org. Thank you so much, Sarah, for bringing us this, well, it's not a song, is it? It's kind of an atmosphere.
It only comes twice a day, but I don't care. It's 420 somewhere.
All right, it's time for NORML's Cannabis Community Calendar, which you can find at norml.org/calendar. Coming up today, Tuesday, June 1st. Can't believe it's June already. The Northern Michigan Compassion Club will be meeting at the Sheboygan Library in Sheboygan, Michigan. Check out minormal.org for details. There will also be a weekly medicating event at the Phoenix Cafe in Hazel Park, Michigan. And in Missouri, Joplin NORML is having their monthly meeting at the Blackthorn Pizza and Pub in Joplin, Missouri. Check out joplin-normal.org for details. Every Tuesday in Albuquerque, New Mexico, you can catch Hemp TV on the local cable access channel. Just call 505-880-0666 for more information. I like any hemp number that's got a 666 in it. That's great. All right, Wednesday, June 2nd, we've got nothing on the calendar, but Thursday, June 3rd, a couple of items here. Normal at Wakarusa is happening in Ozark, Missouri. I believe that's a big festival event, so check that out. Philly Normal's having their open meeting at the A-Space on Baltimore Avenue in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They meet on the first and third Thursdays of every month. Check out phillynormal.org for more information. And a monthly online meeting for all Ohio Normal members on the Thursday, June 3rd via PalTalk. Check out northohionormal.net for more information. We got plenty more on the Cannabis Community Calendar. Just check it out at normal.org/calendar. Also, a couple events we want to make sure people know about. Coming up on June 10th through 12th is the NORML Aspen Legal Seminar in Aspen, Colorado. The deadline for registration for this legal seminar that is open to the public is coming soon. So check out normal.org. Look on the right side for the Aspen Legal Seminar buttons. It's a ton of fun. And if you're interested in the law with regard to cannabis, especially medical cannabis, this will be the event for you. I'll be there. Just about everybody. Cannabis Carry will be up there as well. We'll have a good time.
Ganja John's not going.
Ganja John will not be there.
Ganja John's going next week to the High Times Cannabis Cup.
That's right. What an amazing segue. Next weekend, after that, June 19th and 20th is the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup. Danny Danko will be there, Jorge Cervantes, myself, Ganja John, Cannabis Carry. We'll be doing some shows, some live remotes from there. So check it all out. That's coming up in the next couple weekends here in June, brought to you by normal.org. We'll be right back after this.
When I smoke it, satisfaction guaranteed.
Hi, this is Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML. This year, the Drug Czar's office has a $60 million budget for advertising their Reefer Madness propaganda. We here at NORML don't have that kind of money, but we've got two weapons for fighting back. Your donations and the truth. Please, make a donation to NORML so we can continue to expand this podcast and our other media campaigns. Even a donation of $4.20 can help. Visit us on the web at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORML, NORML. Thank you for caring and sharing.
Give me the weed, that's what I need. When I smoke it, satisfaction guaranteed.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527. Legalization, decriminalization, lowest law enforcement priority, medical marijuana, ganja sacrament, consumer cannabis, industrial hemp. The world of marijuana law reform involves many different aspects of cannabis that intersect nearly every public policy discussion in America, including healthcare, the economy, global climate change, law enforcement and prisons, immigration, religion, free speech, energy policy, and war. Now we take a look at how re-legalizing marijuana will change the world in our NORML daily audio stash, Cannabis Conversations. Welcome back, everyone. 33 after the hour, and joining us here in studio is the Pauline Sabin Award winner, NORML board member, Executive Director of Oregon NORML, and founder of the Cannabis Cafe, as well as mother, grandmother, and owner of 4 little tiny dogs, Madeline Martinez.
Hey, Russ, thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you back here in studio. And, of course, I wanted to bring you here to talk about legalization, and what's happening here in the state of Oregon. The Oregonian had a story that we need to get to, so you can kind of explain to our listeners out there about the Cannabis Cafe closing. The piece goes on to say, just after 6 months, it has closed. The closure was prompted by a dispute between Oregon NORML and the Eric Solomon, who leased the property there. So we just wanted to get the story straight story from you. The closure was May 5th, and what's happening with the Cannabis Cafe now?
Well, the Cannabis Cafe did indeed close on May the 5th. There was somewhat of a dispute. Unfortunately or fortunately, we entered into an agreement, and it didn't work out very well for us because we're a domestic nonprofit, and we work on memberships, and we made some of the revenue in order to pay for our lease there, and it didn't work out as well for the Solomons. And so we ended our partnership, and we've moved on, and we're looking at our new location, and we're hoping it's the one that I like the best. And we're going to be reopening, I would say, the second week of July, the second Saturday. We're going to probably have our grand reopening of the world famous Cannabis Cafe. Just a new location, a little bit of change in our program and how we're going to do it. But I'd also like everyone to stay tuned because I have a little clip of Eric Solomon on Coin Channel 6 that was taped, I believe, last week. And I was able to capture his statements that he felt we were awesome. Yeah. And I think that says it all. As always, there's the rumor mill out there about what happened and how it happened. Yeah. And so I think that he really, his words are very, it's just a really short clip, but he makes it very clear that there is no animosity, that we've moved on and to better and bigger things. Actually, the space had gotten really small for our cardholder meetings. We were outgrowing the ballroom. Yeah. And so we're looking forward to a larger space, of course.
Well, people have seen that from our live remotes that we've done from these from these Oregon NORML cardholder meetings where it's literally standing room only in the place. So exactly. Obviously you'd outgrown that. The meeting space was upstairs, so that was a problem with, people with disabilities, wheelchairs trying to get to the upstairs meeting, and you were doing a great job accommodating them downstairs with the remote feed from the meeting, but still, it'd be nice to have everyone in one room, I'm sure.
Yes, that is exactly what we went out and looked for, and we found what we think is the perfect building, the perfect location, and we're looking at staying there long term. We want to really put down our roots. Yeah. 6 months into a project does not exactly give it a good enough, chance to be successful, and we were actually quite successful in garnering publicity that we probably would have never been able to afford because we were the first in the nation. Yeah. And so it's still an exciting venture, and here we go to move on. We're going to call our new building Cannabis Commons, and we're going to have just as much information and as much hemp as well as medical marijuana and legalization or re-legalization information as we can there.
Okay. I want to talk about Cannabis Commons. I'm really excited about the concept here. Before we leave the whole Rump Spankers Cannabis Cafe closing, I want to get to a couple of things. You did mention rumors flying around. Let's take the chance here to squash a rumor. I heard a rumor come through that you were kicked out. You were fired, Madeline, because you were scribbling on the walls, you damn graffiti artist.
Right. Well, being Mexican apparently is a big thing.
Irresistible.
I mean, what can I say? We are known for our art. But no, the only thing that we put up on the wall, and it was hand-painted by Jennifer Wells, our intern from the Portland Art Institute, and it was a beautiful rendering of our logo. She hand-painted it. It looks so beautiful, including our website. And we covered that up with the proper paint before we left. So there was never any damage to the building or, vandalism. That's ridiculous. Yeah. We left, and that's it.
It was probably in better shape than when you first got in there as far as the things that you had fixed up, at least in that
It
office.
certainly was. As a matter of fact, there were some concerns of ours with always keeping it neat and clean because we don't want to be, stereotyped any worse than what we're trying to overcome now from the reefer madness and all the other craziness that, stoners are, or cannabis consumers are always lethargic and not involved and not motivated. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, Russ. You and I are perfect examples of that. Yeah. We work so much. It's sometimes our families don't really appreciate our dedication, let's say.
Honestly, when I was volunteering there, I can't remember the many times where I got to sit down. I lost more weight working at the Cannabis Cafe than I did at any other job I ever had. So.
Well, I'm glad to say so did I.
Yeah.
It was a really great job. It was a busy job. You had to be motivated and really positive every day. And unfortunately, we don't really do well in a negative environment. So we're really excited about going on to something more, positive and really an exciting time for us to continue to grow. All of our members are looking for where we can gather. Many of them have contacted us, and many of them thought it was over, the end of the Cannabis Cafe. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's a whole new beginning for us.
Yeah, and in fact, I've got the picture of Larry Kirk painting over the Cannabis Cafe logo there on the last day. So certainly everything was covered and left in good stead there. One thing that was a concern of some folks is the suddenness of it all, though. It seemed like they'd been going to the cafe and then boom, it was closed. And now we're talking about maybe late June or July for opening up this new place. Why the suddenness? Why not a longer transition from one place to the other? Was there something that made you have to get out immediately?
Well, I certainly felt that our contract was breached, and so did our attorney. And so we served them with papers that day to end it because we just didn't feel that our contract with them in the venture was being honored.
And this had to do with the
security. There was no security cameras, and we had committed to the owner of the property that we would, in fact, put those security cameras in. And 6 months into this venture, the changes had not been made, the improvements installing the cameras, because we wanted to always be able to have a picture of what was going on in case of a robbery or any incident that could involve someone on our property. And so, of course, because that wasn't done in a timely manner, even though I was told several times that it was in the mail, they were going to be sent, they never quite arrived. And so some other concerns about sanitation were a big issue for us. And we deal with people that are disabled people. Many are undergoing chemotherapy. Others just have already compromised immune systems. And it just is not the kind of thing we wanted for them. We didn't want anyone sickened or, in any way harmed. So, our motto, do no harm and just follow the law. And so, we are out of there, and we're moving on, as I said, into a bigger and a better environment.
Well, let's talk about the bigger, better environment. This Cannabis Commons that is planned, and preliminary plans here that I've seen have been for a location out on Mississippi Avenue in Portland, which is near the Max line, which is an amazing location because people can just get right on and off of the mass transit. We have so many of our opponents that say, "Oh, you go to a Cannabis Cafe, you're going to have a bunch of stoned drivers." Well, not if they can get on the train and just make their way back to wherever they came from. Tell us about this location and all of the things that you plan on doing with this building.
Well, one of the things we'd like to do is the Commons General Store, where you can go. There's not really anywhere in Portland that you can go and buy a couple of scoops of hemp seeds. You have to go to one of the bigger outlets, Nature's or Whole Foods, and buy a little can for, $10 or so. And it's just not really cost effective. And so many people are looking for these products with the teaching and the knowledge that we've finally, in 11 years of cannabis, medical cannabis rather, we have learned about salves and tinctures that is really amazing for people, and we'd like to make those available to card holders any time of the day. And we're just excited about all the things we can do and sell hemp seeds, and there's so many hemp products that are not being sold, are not available to the public, and we'd like to make them available to the public.
So we'll have a general store, and then the Cannabis Cafe as we remember it, a place for patients only where they can medicate on the premises. How about for the general public? Are you opening up more in that with respect to a library or a restaurant or anything?
Yes, we'd also like to include an area where we could have our general membership meeting so that everyone can come in and sit down in a friendly environment and have our meeting. I mean, we disseminate information, we let people know what are the latest updates with regard to relegalization and how they can help, and of course try to inspire them and make them proactive rather than, just sitting around listening to the words. They can actually sign a postcard, make a statement, we give them information on who to contact, especially when we get into the legislative session, we really need everybody working proactively.
Excellent. And so this, this also shows to me how, organizations and just, regular citizens now are finding ways of becoming part of the cannabis economy, the cannabis business, I call them, without selling marijuana, right?
Exactly.
There's so many other things involved in this culture.
There really are so many parts of it that are not being addressed properly. And I think that by having our own place and allowing people to see how well we can regulate and how well we can do at business, we never had any problems financially when we were involved in the Cannabis Cafe, the original opening. And I think that this is going to be a great success, opening it up to the public to be able to come in and buy these products that are really not affordable at this time.
I just like the idea of all of those commuters on the train seeing the NORML logo every day on their commute to work.
Isn't that fabulous? And, one of the things that I'd really like to touch upon is that never anyone... Okay, there's been 11 years of the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, and you do not see huge statistics that problems have been caused by medical marijuana patients driving or medical marijuana consumers for that matter in general. And I think that that's, again, one of those points that our opponents like to make, is that people are driving around under the influence and causing perhaps accidents. We ask all of our consumers, our members, our patrons to really be, as NORML's tenet is, to be responsible consumers. And I think we've all learned how to measure, how to regulate what we're able to do behind the wheel. And of course, the max being there is the added plus. We've actually sent a gentleman home in a taxi once because we felt that he was too impaired at our own cost. And we would do that with anyone that we felt was too impaired. So the max just, is another way to get them back home safely.
Well, let's kind of broaden things just a little bit. And again, we're speaking with Madeline Martinez from Oregon NORML. Looking at the West Coast this year, it's just, it's a completely different landscape than the last, well, even 2008, but, looking back to the last election of 2006, the last midterm election, it's a completely different landscape over the past 2 to 4 years with regard to people talking about legalization. Obviously, California's got it on the ballot with Tax Cannabis 2010. Washington is trying with their Initiative 1068. Here in Oregon, we've got 2 different initiatives trying to qualify for the ballot that would change marijuana laws in this state. So what do you see for the next 2 to 5 years for Oregon NORML's mission, for the Oregon NORML's mission with respect to marijuana as things change, as we get more acceptance for legalization? How far do you want to push this envelope?
I want to push it far enough so that our money can go to the state fund, to a state fund that would provide for health care and enrich our people, the Oregonians that are consuming cannabis, by actually doing another initiative in 2012, running with something new to re-legalize marijuana. Because I think that, I see, the other night I watched on Channel 6 as well, Coin News, that the dangers in our forest, our old growth forest, are being overrun by cartels that are coming in to destroy it. And the fact of the matter is they're not growing hops in those forests because alcohol is legal. And as we know from history, prohibition never worked. And my goal, and I believe the goal of NORML, has always been to end adult marijuana prohibition, to do it responsibly. And how could this be any more responsible than to put the money back into our state to fund these different programs? You can't really mention education because for some reason people get very upset about it. But I am really feeling the load because of my grandchildren, that the schools are so broke that they have no funding. Mm-hmm. We chip in to help with paper and how much can we donate to our school. And it's a real shame that education isn't well funded, and we could do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned going forward in 2012, there's still the 2 2010 initiatives, the 73 initiative, which is the OCTA to legalize, and the 28 initiative, which is the initiative for dispensaries. So are you not feeling sanguine about the chances of these initiatives in 2010? Do you think?
Well, I think that the OCTA, of course, is it's not funded. And so it's an all-volunteer campaign at this point. We don't have the funding. Unfortunately, the funding that we had looked for and counted on is not available to us. And so we have been out there. Jennifer Alexander, one of the directors of Oregon NORML, has been fighting just to get people involved. And we have over 420 people on our, and she has it on her Facebook. And if you want to go look for Jennifer Alexander on Facebook, you can find out how you can sign up, or you can go to octa2010.org and find out about how you can get involved, and you can actually sign a single petition. You can download a 10-line petition, and you can go out there and collect signatures. We're actually working on going to all these different events. The Freedom Rally that's going to be, I believe, in Eugene is going to be going on Saturday, June the 12th, and you can look for Jennifer there. We're going to go to everything we can within the next month to collect as many signatures as we can. And so, it is going to be a struggle. It's an uphill battle, but even law enforcement, everywhere we go, everyone I talk to is saying, why don't you get some clarity here? Because medical marijuana is being abused. Medical marijuana, many people are using it as a screen for commercial dealing. And unfortunately, what is it, 28? Mm-hmm. It is a concern to many of us who are medical marijuana patients, because we're concerned that once they pass dispensary laws, as we've seen in so many other states, that they may take the right for the individual to have their own home garden or their own garden. And that really is a stress factor for us, because accessibility to marijuana, you can go purchase marijuana on the black market for practically the same prices that I see on weedfinder.com, and it really does concern us. It's important to have accessibility to medicine, but if it's not affordable, like if your doctor gives you a prescription for Marinol and you can't afford the $20 pill,
it's not that accessible.
Guess what? It's not accessible. So it's not really helpful in those ways. And so we do have major concerns about it. I would have liked to, and I actually asked that a cap be put on it of $100. And unfortunately, they were not willing to discuss that part with me, because as the executive director of Oregon NORML, many of our constituents are on fixed incomes, $400 to $661 a month. How would they be able to afford, the $45 3.5 grams, and some are even $65 and $80. So it isn't affordable.
Yeah, I'd like to get into this just a little bit more. We need to take a break, and when we come back, I've got a radical rant and some notes here from Mark Emery's blog that segues perfectly into what we're talking about here. You're listening to Normal Show Live. We're right back after this.
Good.
Hello, this is Webb Hubble. Life insurance is now available for responsible marijuana smokers. For years, responsible marijuana smokers have not been able to access affordable life insurance products. NORML uniquely supports cannabis consumers. 2 carriers have already agreed to offer all of their traditional life insurance products at all levels without excluding individuals who smoke marijuana responsibly. Help NORML and help yourself. If you've been declined for life insurance, are paying above market premiums, or simply want to know what now may be available in the way of insurance for marijuana smokers, contact me at info@mclaughlinonline.com or simply call me at 202-293-5566.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 53 after the hour, just wrapping the show up here. And I wanted to wrap up with talking about legalization here on the West Coast. In California, I pointed out how I went out to the Cow Palace back in April for an event, and how Dennis Perrone, one of the authors of Prop 215, has had people that were passing out flyers out on the cars in the parking lot telling them to vote against California legalization. And it's not the first time I've heard of dispensary owners or people involved in medical marijuana against legalization. We had a story on the blog last week about the Unity dispensary, the Unity Collective in Sacramento, its owner actually hiring a PR firm to fight against California California legalization. So this post here from Mark Emery, you know Mark Emery is, of course, the seed magnate who's in an American prison now, extradited from Vancouver to serve 5 years in our prison system for selling seeds. He's been writing a blog out at Cannabis Culture magazine, and I've got this quote from his most recent post from prison that I thought was apropos to this situation. This is from Mark Emery, who says, quote, "I'm very disappointed in everyone who is opposed to the California legalization initiative. All that anti-legalization stuff is coming from medical marijuana growers and profiteers who rightly fear prices will plummet and no one will have to buy their pot anymore. It's just a lobby to protect their black market. The areas of contention that the legalization initiative says no public smoking, like the law is now, so no difference, and it doesn't exempt 18 to 21-year-olds. Again, that's how the law is now, but at least adults are free from imprisonment. It does not usurp or alter anything in Proposition 215, which is California state law and the force behind the massive medical marijuana movement there. If every citizen of California can grow 25 square feet of cannabis in their home or backyard, there goes the privileged black market backing the anti-legalization campaign. And that's why some people are opposed to it. Imagine that. Self-proclaimed cannabis activists working against legalization." End quote. That's from Mark Emery's U.S. Federal Prison blog number 3 in Cannabis Culture magazine. You can check the link up at stash.normal.org. I'll bring Madeline Martinez back into this discussion about this because this is something not just a California issue, but also an issue with competing forces in the state of Oregon. What is up with the medical marijuana people that don't support legalization?
Well, they say they support legalization. Boy, I've told people, come on, let's legalize, not commercialize. And, they found it most offensive and not true that I would say that. What they say to me is, let's just wait. Let's just get those dispensaries in first, because we'll never be able to get to legalization without showing dispensaries and a regulated market. Well, I don't believe that that's true. We have proven that we are law-abiding citizens and that given the opportunity, most of us want to be legal. And for us to not legalize is ridiculous. And the war on drugs, the war on marijuana is a dismal failure. We all know this, but we continue the same action expecting a different outcome. Well, I think we need to get to the end of it and legalize. And my problem with these dispensary owners that just want to continue to make money on the backs of sick patients, I think it's really greedy of them. What I'd like to see is all adults be able to consume cannabis. Adults. In the state of Oregon, Russ, there's 357,000 cannabis consumers according to the government statistics. And yet we don't look at that money when we're letting it hemorrhage into the criminal market.
Yeah. Now, to be fair about this with the dispensary owners, Richard Lee has put up millions of dollars of his own money that he's run from Oaksterdam University and from his dispensaries. And there are dispensary owners that sponsor NORML events and sponsor this show and do all sorts of great work. So it's not as if, cannabis businesses are bad, but to want to support locking people up or to delay not locking them up so that you can continue to make a living is ridiculous.
Well, it's outrageous to say, let's just continue this for another few years. People losing their jobs, people losing their children many times. That's my big problem. This 28 doesn't change the fact that people are losing their jobs. It doesn't help you to prevent your child being lost in a nasty divorce, child custody battle. It does none of those things. It just commercializes your ability to go and get cannabis.
Yeah, and I also think that, this limited commercialization that we see with dispensaries could actually be counterproductive in that all of the profits and the mass amount of money and the incentives that are involved in a black market still exist in a dispensary market. And so when people are involved in that market and bad things happen, it makes it look like, we went this far and look at the bad things that happened. Let's not go farther. When in fact, the only reason bad things ever happen at dispensaries, like, break-in robberies or whatever, is because of the prohibition for everyone else.
Exactly. And that's the problem. The problem isn't marijuana. The problem is prohibition. As we saw with alcohol, one would think that you would learn by your history and by the mistakes that were made. But unfortunately, we continue, as we see in Arizona with immigration, instead of stopping and saying, look, we learned so much, the civil rights movement of the 60s, we learned so much. No, but we're going back to relearn this again at the expense of millions of people.
Yeah, it's such a shame. Madeline Martinez, thank you for joining us here in the studio today. Always appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks.
Ganja John's got an important announcement.
This Friday here in Portland, you local people, I will be at the ICP and Cottonmouth Kings concert getting Octa signatures. Jen Alexander will be at the Sting concert. Madeline will be there gathering Octa signatures. So come see us.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us here at NORML.org. For everyone here, including Ganja John, Cannabis Carrie, and our guest, Madeline Martinez, thanks for supporting NORML. Check out NORML.org and donate. We are completely supported by the donations of average cannabis consumers like you. So please help us help you and help us keep this show coming to you every day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern. Replays every 2 hours. Get your downloads at stash.normal.org. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow me on Twitter at Radical Russ. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
We love the earth.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Take it out one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant